Dear Rockstar, I feel like the luckiest girl alive. I get to sit around and talk to starters, right? I'm so excited to be with Jameson Gavin.
Nice to be here.
And I'm thinking, people always say, how did you meet that person? And I'm like, in a coffee shop.
Yeah.
You and I met in a coffee shop.
Yeah.
Right?
There you go.
So premium trash is only a part of your story.
Yes, ma'am.
But I thought for the listener or the viewer, why don't you start us off and tell us a little bit about you and what you're doing right now?
Yeah. So Jameson Gavin, I was raised in Atlanta, Georgia. And basically I got to Orlando for a soccer scholarship to play at UCF. And so soccer was the way that I was introduced to Orlando and how I got to Florida. So I came down to UCF, was just kind of trying to get a feel for everything that was involved in Orlando and also the soccer and this culture of Florida.
Yeah.
And just really hit it off and really began to enjoy Orlando. And
was it Orlando or was it the sun?
it was probably both. So
sun, soccer.
Exactly, because the first college I went to was actually Mars Hill, which is in North Carolina, in the mountains by Asheville. So
a
lot of snow.
Different experience.
Oh man, completely different. I think we had 5,000 students maybe or something like that.
Oh yeah, you come to this campus.
So
what? Soccer was your passion?
Soccer is a passion, yep. And it still is. So I still play a little competitive soccer, but nothing crazy. Okay. You know, when I want to sub, I just, tap a guy out and get out of there. But it still is a passion. Okay,
so soccer player comes to Florida and then...
Yep, and so then from there, which is kind of a unique story, I actually was not able to continue soccer my senior year at UCF. And so a lot of people don't know this about me, but people who are intimate with me and close with me, I share the story. But basically, my grades were not good enough to continue at my senior year. And so I've always been the type of guy who works hard. I mean, I dig deep. And so for me, I came to UCF to play soccer. I didn't come for school.
Right.
And so I think I had like B's and C's or like I think maybe a 2.7 or 2.5 GPA. And I'll never forget the day I was sitting with the coach in his office and he says, Jameson, you're a great player, but, your grades just aren't good enough. And so, it was a very depressing moment, but I picked myself back up and reached out to my agent and said, it's time to go pro. And so I actually went professional this summer of my junior to senior year in soccer.
I love that the iteration wasn't, I can't do it.
Exactly.
I need to do it somewhere else.
Exactly. Yep.
And so where did that lead you?
And so it led me to Fort Lauderdale, and then I played with a team down there for about a month, and then moved over to the Miami Strikers, which is a professional team. And then from there, went to Armenia, went to France, went all over the world, and just reached some new heights.
It's so interesting when we think it's that whole thing. You think God's closing a door, but he's opening a window, and the door has to close so that you'll look around for the window.
It's true. But a lot of people don't realize that when that door shuts in your face, it doesn't mean to turn away. It may mean just try to find another door or try to find a window that'll lead to a bigger door. And so that's what I took that opportunity. It was a very depressing moment for me. But
you knew you were still in soccer.
Exactly.
You weren't done with soccer.
That passion is there. It's something, that burning desire. I'm a big fan of Napoleon Hill. You Can Grow Rich, and he talks about that burning desire, and it's so true. I wasn't done yet.
What do you think how do you know when you know?
You got to follow your gut. I say we all have, or you can say your spirit. And this different people use different terms, but I say you have to, it's in there. It's kind of like around here in your stomach area.
Yeah.
But when when you're done and when you're not. If you're still thinking about it, if you still have ideas and you still have drive and passion, and you're waking up in the middle of the night, I got to do this, whether it's business or not, you might want to continue to just find a different avenue.
So you go all around the world playing soccer, and then tell us about how Premium Trash started.
The very first business I started, I was 14 years old in Atlanta, Georgia. It was a landscaping company. So I started cutting the grass for just my own house for my parents. And then the neighbors.
Were you charging them?
And I wasn't.
Or was this like a trade?
It was kind of like a trade off.
You get the bedroom if you.
It was more of I cut the grass and you take me to soccer practice kind of a thing. Because at that time I think
they were our first clients.
They were.
Now did you go beyond your parents?
Which is good. I did, and so I ended up doing pretty much the whole neighborhood, which was probably about 100 homes. So
wow.
I mean, yeah, it was.
How old were you?
I was 14. And so my father taught me how to invoice, how to do, run a business properly, and I'll never forget that.
Had your dad run a business?
He has. So my father, he's actually a voiceover artist. So he does voiceovers for movies, podcasts, books, things like that. And so that's his full-time job. So he understands more freelance work.
Right.
And so he taught me entrepreneurship.
So Premium Trash is just your second or third
it's another
venture.
One. Yep. And then after that, actually at UCF, I started a website called Night Trade. And so I don't know if I told you this before,
No.
So it was called Night Trade, which I thought was an ingenious idea at the time. Oh, well, pretty much every entrepreneur thinks their idea is ingenious.
No, well, we think our names are just like Dear Rockstar. Yeah, how to start something. Ever. Night Trade.
Exactly. And this website was a way for students to actually trade books between each other for free. So, the bookstore is insanely expensive. I mean, I remember taking, all these different classes, and the book is like $200, $300. And I'm thinking like, it's just one semester. What do I need a $300 book for? Yeah. So I created this website where they can trade, let's say calculus for a physics book for free. And I got paid just off of advertisement. So
how long did you run that?
I ran that for about a year. UCF found out. We ended up basically selling the website, the business, to UCF campus, etc.
Something I'm interested in for starters is their why. Kind of what motivates them.
Yeah.
What's your why about all the stuff you've started?
So my why is definitely providing value for others. I really love to help people. And I'd say also just hard work. I work very, very hard. I think last week I logged 20 hours a day for our business, 7 days a week. So it's, I put in a lot of hard work, and I love bringing value to people, in different aspects. I mean, I think it's awesome helping people.
So how did Premium Trash start?
Yeah. So after soccer, I tore 2 tendons in my ankle. I was actually training with Orlando City at the time. Very bummed. And basically they said, you can put a metal rod in your ankle, that whole story or whatever. And I said, no, I'm not going to do any of that. And so basically became a software engineer. So in school, I studied computer engineering and software. And then I had an internship before that with BlackBerry and CBON in Atlanta. So I understood and I knew how to code. So I figured, I'm getting kind of serious with this lady, which is my girlfriend at the time. Yeah. So I said, it's probably time to, play this adult life role. So
play this adult life role.
Kind of grow up a little bit, make my grandma proud. And so basically from there, I got a job with a software company. And then I moved on from there to a different software company, a much larger. And I can just remember driving to work every day. This is probably maybe about 2 years.
Yeah.
So driving to work every day. And one day, just out of nowhere, I mean, I was good, excited, happy, leading a team in Bolivia too. Just great.
Doing IT work?
Yep. So coding. I just remember pulling the same parking spot every day, right? I've got the car, the motorcycle. I mean, I have a nice apartment. I'm doing pretty good. And
the girl,
life is going good.
American dream or whatever.
And so I pull in the same parking spot just out of nowhere. I just started screaming. This is like 7:30 in the morning, pull into the space, and I'm just like, what's going on, Jameson? You're better than this. I had a breakdown. Never in my life I've ever had that.
Had you heard this in your head, and were you like,
I don't think so.
Muting it?
I might have been muting it. I think because I like to go on walks, like when I ponder, when I think, and I still do that to this day. So I walk around the lake or walk down the beach, things like that. But I hadn't gone on those walks in a while. And so I think maybe just this day, just with the stress of, of work and just trying to do other things, and et cetera, I just think I just had that moment.
So you can do better. What did that mean to you?
Yeah. So what it meant was, I needed to provide value. And so I felt that what I was doing right now, working and there's nothing wrong with working for someone else, but I felt like the best way I could provide value with the largest impact was to do something on my own, was to do entrepreneurship. And so...
Did you know that in a minute? Like when you were sitting there yelling at yourself?
Yeah. And as soon as I started yelling, I'm like, banging on the steering wheel. Thank God I didn't break my car. But, I realized, immediately, I've started businesses before. I was 14 when I started a business before. I've always been very driven in soccer. I started Night Trade, had it for basically a year.
Yeah, this was the first time you had moved over and been the employee.
Exactly. And so I really found out that though I was good at it, it wasn't my passion. And those are two separate things. And a lot of people have to realize what you're good at may not always be, your passion.
How do you describe the difference?
I would say it goes back to following your gut or your spirit. We all know what we really want to be doing deep down. And so I've had conversations with other entrepreneurs and, people who want entrepreneurs, entrepreneurs like Mark Cuban says. But, I think deep down, you really know. Some people, they say, I don't know what I'm good at. And I say, well, what you're good at may not be your passion. What do you really, like when you wake up, the first 2 minutes, what are you thinking about? What do you want to be doing? Where do you see yourself those first 2 minutes? For me, the first 2 minutes, if you called me in the first 2 minutes I wake up, you wouldn't even know it's Jameson. I'd be like, I'm by the beach playing soccer and running a millionaire business, $1 million business. Because those first 2 minutes for me is where I really want to be. Yeah. So.
Well, it's the love thing,
it
right?
Is.
Like
it's all about
pay
that.
attention to what you love.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. And it's deep in there. It's there.
Okay, so we're in the car.
Yep, in the car.
What we call a divine aha.
Oh yeah.
Breakthrough.
All of that. And there you go. Breakthrough. I like that.
Then what happened?
And so, I just left work. I just 7:30. I just pulled in, backed out, and I was gone. And so, I went home, and basically from there, I just said, I got to just get out. I got to get around nature. I just got to think. So, went to the park and came home maybe a couple hours later, and my girlfriend at the time, I told her to come on over. And so I was just telling her I got to do something else. So it's maybe indulging too much, but I was sitting on the toilet. I tell the same story. So
I believe breakthroughs in all kinds of places.
So I tell the same story every time, but I was sitting on the toilet and I thought about, when I was playing professional soccer, who cleaned up the stadiums after the games? And I was thinking, maybe I need to do a little research. And so I did research, found out there was no one company or 5 companies that did this on a national level that basically had the whole larger stadiums. And so,
so is this the same day?
Same day.
This is a big day.
Same big day.
In so many ways.
I remember the day.
But so you not only got the clarity that you had to get back to entrepreneurship, but you got the idea.
The idea. Yep.
So amazing because it makes me think that, first of all, I think God is amazing the way he wires us, but it's like when we listen and then we ask,
it's so true.
And then the answer comes.
It's so true. God will speak. We just have to listen. He will speak. I'm a firm believer in that. It may not always be in our timing that we want, which is so true.
Yeah.
But
now,
exactly. But he will speak, and we just have to be in a place to listen. So from there, sitting on the toilet, had this idea and did the research and found out, that waste is actually an industry that hasn't had a lot of innovation in the last 20 or 30 years. And so I love innovation. I love bringing value, and that's where that innovation kind of, spends in. And I was willing to put in the hard work. And so...
Okay, so what'd you do? How'd you get your first client?
Oh my gosh.
I love your name, premium trash, what an oxymoron.
Exactly,
right?
and that's why we did
trash.
that.
The first time I met you and you said, I have a company called Premium Trash. It was like an oxymoron.
Exactly.
My brain was trying to get around premium trash.
Yep.
Premium.
And that's why we did that. So our very first client was here in Orlando. And so it was it was a concert. And so it was probably a 50,000, people, client concert customers. And so...
How did you get the client?
How did I get... Oh, I remember. So I was basically just sending flyers out, just cold calling venues, concerts, event promoters, all of that, whole nine, every day. And I was still working actually at the software company, but during lunch, I was reading and I was on the phone. And then before, after, this is what I was doing. And it was actually with a porta potty company. So it's the nation's largest porta potty company.
We have a theme going on here.
Yeah. That's true.
A strategic relationship.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And I had a meeting with one of their sales executives, and she believed in me. And then from there, I met with a lady at Winter Park Chamber. She was at the office. She just said I could come on back and meet with her. And then that led to a meeting with the vice president of this organization. And they said, "Hey, Jameson, we believe in you. We believe in your hard work. We'll give you a shot."
And they knew this was your first gig.
No, we didn't have trash cans. We didn't have people. We had a business LLC, but we had nothing. And they knew that. But I told them, I said, you give me this shot, I promise you, this event will be the cleanest you've ever seen before. And I've never done janitorial before. Not a day in my life. But
picking up trash, how hard can it be?
It's picked up it's just or hard it's not. Work. Exactly. And so that very first again, and I'll never forget, it was downtown Orlando. It was a Cameo concert.
Where was it at?
It was actually on the street in front of the courthouse.
Okay.
So it's a whole block. I mean, the whole block is full. I mean, massive. And so I called my mom, my dad.
Putting friends and family in a whole new perspective.
They're vested. We know about trash now. And so they came down, and then actually some friends who were in the company, the software company I was working for, they believed in me as well and my drive, and they said, well, we'll get in there too. And my girlfriend, and we got out there and we cleaned it up, and we rocked since then.
Wow.
Just killing it. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the inflection point since then, because you've had some big things happen, right?
Huge things. So we've been around for about 3.5, 4 years. So a lot of people, they think that we've been around for 10, 15 years, but we've only been around for about 3.5, 4 years.
They're just seeing you everywhere.
Exactly. So our growth has literally grown every year by 3 to 4 times. Wow. I mean, it's been
300 to 400% each year.
Each year, like year over year over year over year. And so, that alone is very difficult to manage. So it's a bit different than software from what I understand.
Because there's some people involved. Exactly. Right? This is a service business. This is a service
business, which is completely different. And I've just
I had hair salons, like 25,000 people getting their hair cut a week. Woo, right?
Yes.
It's like there's a lot of people involved.
And there's a lot of managing, your own employees, and also the complaints. I mean, there's always complaints, so it's like it's always that battle of of managing that. So that's been our most difficult part, is managing that growth.
So the growth's been incredible.
Yep.
And what were some of the key moments that you think are the reason you're at the point you are now?
Yeah, I'd say number one is having a mentor. That's something that I picked up pretty early. Was I've always tried to learn from others. And so I have right now 4 mentors who are all entrepreneurs, who have all had very successful businesses in different areas. And getting to that stage of having my first mentor taught me a lot. One of the things that my first mentor told me, which was about year 1, which we were doing this first huge stage of growth, was it's not what you do, it's how you do it.
Oh, yeah.
And so he's actually he sells ball bearings. So just little bitty ball bearings, metal ball bearings. And he makes, about $40 million a year. And he literally doesn't work that much, but his business has grown to that level. And so he told me, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. So for that first year, that's what we focused on. And then the next year I got another mentor who taught me different things. And then that year I focused on that. So each stage I've had to kind of apply or tweak a little bit.
Yeah.
But every stage that you identify, you have to basically make those changes for that stage.
So what are you most proud of in terms of your business?
Oh, what am I most proud of? Still being a business.
Still being around.
Yeah, still being around.
Yeah,
I mean it's not easy, and that's something that I make known to a lot of entrepreneurs is, I mean, it's a feat to just stay in business. There's so many businesses that fail, and you hear the statistics, 80%, don't make it past year 4 and, and all that. But that's probably my biggest one is just being a business. And I love running payroll. That's probably it's weird. I don't like how long it takes, for it to get through all of our, because we have about 125 people on our team right now.
Wow.
So I don't like how long it takes, but I love being able to give people checks. I mean, I think it's incredible to see some of our employees, their daughter, come to work, and they'll, come over on Saturday, we'll host a barbecue or something. I'm looking at, at these young people and thinking like, wow, I'm able to impart into your father or your mother's life from business, from financial, just different things. And then they're able to impart into your life, and then that's going to go on to your children and things like that. So, it's pretty neat.
Yeah, touching people.
Exactly.
This is real.
Exactly.
People are walking out their lives as a part of your team.
Yeah, it's huge.
That responsibility.
It's huge. And entrepreneurs should understand that. It's huge.
Yeah, that's our biggest purpose.
Yeah.
Right?
You think about that, it's crazy.
Is to create opportunities for others.
Exactly.
So talk to me a little bit. Is something happening with Premium Trash right now? Or is there any big news?
Yeah. So there's a lot of things. So we've been approached from some very large companies to purchase our company. We're not 100% sure, if we're going to go with one or the other, or if we're going to continue to drive this thing on our own, or potentially take investors. Right now, we've had no investors except my grandmother, who's helped me out, and my aunt. And so, but no like private investments.
Okay, so it's all
exactly all in house,
pretty much privately owned family.
Exactly, but we've reached that stage where the big guys are knocking on our door continuously, like, hey, we want you to come and sell your company to us and work for us, for a year or two, or and bring your ideas, because we have a lot of innovation that we're trying to bring to waste.
What's the core innovation? Like, what's the gap you saw? How have you innovated? And you're not going to tell us your secret sauce, but tell us a little bit about how you've innovated in a market that we all struggle to think of in terms of how you would innovate trash.
True. So a few ways. So we started with event cleanup. One of the other arms of our company is valet trash. So it's a fast growing
valet trash. You see the guy in the tux taking out the garbage.
and the tie and everything. And so when we actually started, we had collar shirts and everything. We even thought about wearing ties, but that didn't last too long. It got really dirty. But and
hot.
Yeah, and hot here in Orlando. It's crazy. And so basically valet trash, where we take the trash from the doorsteps of apartments, condos, and now even vacation rentals and homes.
Yeah.
And so we'll take it out, we'll take it to the dumpster, we'll take it off site, etc. So the innovation that I'm trying to bring into the industry is not only just that valet service industry for waste, but also how we dispose of waste. So we have different ways and different things that we've invested to as a company to find a way to recycle and reuse all types of waste. Okay. And so that's a big initiative, in a lot of our Q&A and our R&D goes towards ways that we can reuse and reduce people's waste.
Okay, so is that kind of the secret sauce?
That's really the secret sauce.
It's not that we just pick it up.
Exactly.
But that we're really thinking about being sustainable.
Exactly.
And how we do the whole re-up thing and recycle. And
where your waste is going.
And where it's going.
Yep. So that's what we do.
And that piece is probably scalable.
It is. It's very scalable. And that's every business, every idea that I have is I think is $1 billion idea, are the ones that I push. But this one specifically, I wanna provide value, and I don't want to just do it we're in the entire Southeast right now, including the state of Texas. I don't want to just be in the Southeast. I want to change the way we finish waste, in the whole world. I mean, there's got to be something different.
So transform the waste industry. And so that's so different than scaling, because I think we call it the S word now, because just scaling to get big. I mean, then it comes back down to say purpose and sweet spot and how meaningful is that? Just scaling to scale.
Exactly. Can you provide more value? Can you make that huge impact?
So is that your sweet spot right now in terms of your purpose? If you were defining purpose for you, what's your mission?
So my purpose, I'd say in life, is to make that huge impact. So when I leave on my last day of my, on the deathbed, I want to say, I want to look up and say, man, what I did or what we did together is going to change the world for generations after I'm here. And then for Premium Trash, is finding those ways that we can do that. So whether it's in just waste, or if it's more into recycling, it's how do we innovate that? I mean, the trash can has been the same trash can for God knows how long.
Talk to me a little bit about your life disciplines. Like, it sounds like you have this real stewardship of your life, like you want to make an impact. What are some of your life disciplines, or are there things that you do to stay on that purpose?
So I do a lot of reading, for one. And I go to church a lot. And I've identified pastors and spiritual people and just leaders who I try to follow on a daily basis. So Twitter for me is a great way to follow a lot of people.
Okay.
And I make sure that I have my alone time. So I was the only child growing up. My wife now, she has like 5 or 6 brothers and sisters, so it's completely different. But I make sure that I communicate with her. I need that some alone time. And when I have that alone time to relax, just to think, to go on those walks, I mean, in my mind, I conquer the world every time. So that's
so walking. How's your faith been a part of who you've become?
That's a great question. That's an incredible question. So my faith has been a huge drive. Growing up, faith has always been a part of what I've done and what I've believed in. I believe that you need to believe.
Was in your house or?
It was, yeah. And so my mother, she's an author, and she was a minister before, and so she's a very innovative and driven person who believes, that God first, family, business in that order. And so that's been a huge part of what I do, is believing that God is first, family and then business. So it's been a huge piece of my life.
So that's an incredible filter. Has there been a time where that filter has meant that you've done something that other people have thought, whoa, you just bypassed a huge financial opportunity?
Yeah. So even right now where we're at in the stage of perhaps selling our company, there's the reasons why people want to buy our company have been for various reasons, some of which we don't believe are just encompass our true values and what we believe, and making that different and making that impact. And so for us, we want to make sure that what we do in waste is facilitating what we believe in our morals and our values. So
you're bringing over the mission and vision and values you have right now, and you're filtering all these people that want to acquire you through them.
Exactly.
And regardless of the money piece, this is the filter?
Yep, you're exactly right. And so, and of course, friends, they'll say, just get rid of this thing. You spend 20
hours. Let's
go
on the boat.
You know what I mean? Let's
buy the boat.
Exactly. Let's go ahead and do this. You say you want to move here, you want to do this next business, etc. Let's go ahead and get rid of this and let's get out. You know what I mean? But for us, it's more than that. It's not just a financial, aspect, because if it's just about money, I call that just being shallow. You have to have purpose, like maybe your purpose is money, like Kevin O'Leary maybe on Shark Tank, but it's different. You have to really find that. And for us in this business, it's not just cash, it's really about changing the waste industry.
So who do you listen to? What podcast do you listen to?
Oh man, a ton. So obviously I listen to your podcast.
The one
It's awesome. It's awesome. No, you have a lot of followers. You have a lot. And then I love John Lee Dumas.
I got to listen to him.
Yeah, E.O. Fire.
What's it called?
It's called Entrepreneur on Fire, but it's short for E on Fire.
Okay.
So, and just a really quick story about John Lee Dumas is when he was first beginning his podcast, I was working, actually me and my wife were working a property here in Orlando doing valet trash. So every morning we wake up at like 5:30, got to the property at 6. And Courtney, she would actually pick up it was just me and her, one truck, and we would throw the trash in, super dirty. And we did it for probably 6 or 7 months just by ourselves because we needed the cash to grow the business.
Yeah.
And she's got some crazy stories like, opening up the trash bin and then possum, coming at her. She's screaming, running down, and I'm like, what's going on, babe? What's going on? And, so she's a trooper, but yeah, so John, and I would listen to John Lee Dumas every day. Like 5 podcasts, because he does a podcast 7 days a week.
Wow.
So a lot of work.
Oh man.
Yeah. But, so I would listen to like 5 a day, and like repeat. But, love John Lee Dumas. Tim Ferriss, listen to him. Bigger Pockets, Real Estate. Just a ton. I love Gary Vee. Tim Ferriss, all these guys.
Okay, since you listened to Tim Ferriss, I'll steal a couple of his questions. So what's the book you give away most?
Definitely Think and Grow Rich. So I have 2 books, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. If you haven't read it, and anybody who's listening, you have to read that book. Value bombs everywhere.
Value bombs.
That's what John Lee says. So I like that. And then the second one is actually my mother's book. Is Recalibrate. And so
Recalibrate, and we can still find it.
Yeah. And so hers is Recalibrate, and it's by Yvette Gavin. And so her book, it teaches individuals how to navigate their way to success. So there's so many obstacles in corporate America and entrepreneurship, and even being a doctor where you want to get to a different level. And it can be tough to know which decisions to make. And so she kind of helps you understand what's the best decision. And she's done that for my life, which is actually
I gotta have her on. I want to see the book.
She's incredible. She's incredible.
Okay. Looking back, what would you tell your younger self?
Oh boy. Get ready.
You're still really young.
Yeah.
You've already gone over this, but get ready.
Get ready. Get
your helmet.
Yeah.
Get your seatbelt on.
Yeah, because people attack you, and I'd say get ready, not from a standpoint of working hard, because I've always worked hard, but just people, they have attacked me individually. Thank God, not really necessarily my wife, but I guess when they've seen, I give you a story, and this is great for entrepreneurs. As we've grown this company, I'd say this last year has been the biggest stage of huge growth where it's just
you do want to share your sales at all for people, or is that important?
So what we're doing right now, we're in the 7-figure in that range right now. And so from last year to this year, it was about $500,000 to going up. And so from that stage, we had, this is something I'll never forget. And I'll tell my younger self or my children, was that, we had a big client that, basically I met with, we talked. They said that we weren't doing things that we're supposed to be doing. We basically went back to them and said, this is in the contract. This is what we're contracted to do. These are extra services. And so this person basically was not happy with that and pretty much told me, you're too young to be successful. This is quote unquote. I'll never forget him saying this. You're too young to be successful. You have to be a drug dealer to have the success that you're having right now. And basically we don't ever want you working on our properties again.
Those are fighting words.
Yeah.
Right?
And this is, I'm face to face with this gentleman, and a much older gentleman.
What planet did you drop off of?
And I said, well, I beg to differ on a lot of those things, but if that's the way you feel, then I would just like to, part our ways in business. And so that actually pushed me back emotionally and spiritually for probably, I'd say, probably about 5 months. I was just thinking about that, am I too young to really have, the success that I want to have? Obviously he looked at my skin color as I must be a drug dealer. I've never done drugs a day in my life. I played professional soccer. So obviously I've never been a part of it. I literally just started drinking alcohol a year and a half ago. So,
it goes back to, there's a racist inside all of us.
Yeah.
The question is, how big is it?
It's true.
Right?
It's true.
And how much are you nurturing it?
Yeah.
Right? Cause as we hang on to these stereotypes, wherever they've come from.
Yep.
We have to realize that, we're the solution to this.
It's true. It's so true.
So you would say, get ready.
Get ready.
Because people are going to come after and attack you.
Oh yeah.
And they're going to feel scared by your success, or they're going to feel.
And that's what my mother's taught me, is that people are intimidated by the things that you do. Because when I say I want to do something, like if you said, Jameson, I want you to put a tractor trailer on top of the Eiffel Tower. And I believed in that, I promise you. But whatever that deadline is, the day before that, I'd have that tractor trailer balancing on top of the Eiffel Tower. That's just, I have that drive, that's me. And so, a lot of people can be intimidated by that. And I've had to learn that people will attack you based off of you going after the things you believe in. So what
do you say to someone that, because I hear you say get ready, but what do you say to someone right now that's sitting out there that feels like they're being attacked, feels like what they've done is under fire, and they're, what do you say to that person? Yeah,
I would say, number one is understand what your passion is, and what you really want to do. If it's in your spirit, it's in your gut, this is what you believe in, you're going to, stick in it. And then number two is, you got to get people around you who believe in you. So that inner circle matters. Oh man, it's insane. That inner circle who you listen to, you got to be really, really careful of those people. A lot of people try to give me advice. I hear a lot of people, but as my father-in-law, says, but I won't listen, So, that's something you got to understand, is that inner circle is huge.
Yeah. There's this whole other conversation I want to have, because you and your wife work together.
Yeah, we sure
do. And you proposed to her at the Eiffel Tower. So there's all these
Paris.
great stories, right?
Yep.
What can you say about, what's your advice right now to those of us that are working with our partner, or thinking, or in a business, or starting a business with someone we love?
Yeah. So what I would say with that is, you got to have that balance. And so that's something that my mother also showed Courtney and I before we even got married. Was she was very adamant about it. I'm glad she warned us. She said, you guys have to separate business and work. But as you know, as an entrepreneur, especially with growing it and wanting that success, it's almost impossible to truly separate business and well,
it becomes a self-expression. If you're really an entrepreneur, your art becomes your way of life.
Yeah.
And your way of life and your path is about creating value. And it becomes one.
Yep. It's
right?
So true.
And so it's not like this thing when it's a job, this is your calling or your purpose.
Yeah.
But having healthy boundaries for other things other than work.
Exactly. It's so true. And you think about it, you are a mother, and then you are a wife, and that's all in you. So why should you separate, and why should you separate what those are? And if you're also an entrepreneur, why should you separate it? That's all in you. That's inside of this right here.
It's a self-expression. It's one whole thing.
Exactly. And so
how do we
do that? So I'll say this.
You don't have to be completely doing it perfectly.
No, I'm not perfect by any means.
I doubt you if you said you did.
Yeah, no. And so one thing about me is I failed 1,001 times, probably a million times. I fail. And not only just marriage and being the best, man and being the best entrepreneur. I fail a lot, but I try to be the best. And so what we found is you do have to separate certain failures in business from the marriage. And so the successes we celebrate, openly, we're everywhere, we're going out to dinner, we'll just walk around the park together. We celebrate those hugely, but the failures we don't bring home. So we've learned to balance those separately. So like if we lose an account at the office or on the phone call, I'll call, hey, we lost this account. We lost it. That's it. You know what I mean? It doesn't come home.
Wow.
It's all right. We tried our best. We'll tell the clients we apologize for maybe not living up to the service that you requested and that you believe that we could do. Or if it's other reasons, like that we can't control, like some before, we apologize for that. We hope you're getting your business again, but we believe that the Lord will provide more for us, in different ways. And so getting to that stage, to that belief was tough as well.
Yeah, but you're still early in the journey. Yeah. And that's what I love.
Yeah.
So as we wrap this up, and we will definitely talk again,
Absolutely.
Do you have anything else to say to someone that's working on starting and building and living their purpose?
Yeah, I would say stay focused. Just like John Lee Dumas says, he uses the acronym for focus: follow one course until success. So
say that again.
It's follow one course until success. And so I certainly believe in that. Every business that I've started, I make sure that business can at least run 90% without me until I move on to the next one. That it's already it can pay for itself. It can pay for other people. It can pay me, to invest in other things. And then I'll start something else. But until I get premium into that stage, I'm not starting the next thing.
That's so wise.
Yeah. Because I found that when I've tried to do that, the businesses, they're like little bitty things, and they don't make anything. And it's just wasting your time and your mental energy. So that's what
okay. So where do we find you online?
Yeah. So you can find, obviously our website is premiumtrash.com. Okay. I'm on Twitter. I am Jameson Gavin. I am on Snapchat. I'm on Instagram, all those, under the same,
I am Jameson.
I'm Jameson Gavin. Or you can just send me an email at jameson@premiumtrash.com.
Awesome.
You can find me there.
Oh, thank you so much.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure.
And it's been awesome. You are a dear rock star.
Thank you. You are too. Thank you.